So now we're going to talk about being my brother's keeper. And what does that mean in terms of suicide prevention? As you mentioned before, Omar, uh, Jay Kennedy did say in his letter creating the committee that we're here to be an extension of looking out for each other and looking out for one another's brothers and what have you. And so, how does suicide prevention work fit into that in terms of Masonry?
I think it's important to say that this information is meant to be valuable to anyone who ever watches it, whether they know what a Freemason is, whether they are a Freemason, whether they have some disagreement with Freemasonry. I think it's important to know that the information is meant to be universal. But the truth of the matter is that we're sitting here because of a project that was started within the Knights Templar, which are a group within Freemasonry. And so I think that some of the themes within Freemasonry make this series a natural extension of what it is that we try to do, but also that it is metaphorical of some of the things that we do within the structure of the fraternity. And so one of the things that made me very excited about having these conversations was the idea that, to not give too much away, within the fraternity, when somebody is brought in and goes through the ritual and goes through what we call the degrees, there is oftentimes a process in which they are led around the room in ceremony, and that person is unable, the candidate or the brother advancing to the next degree is unable to see clearly for different purposes, and different jurisdictions do it differently. Some turn the lights out, some use a blindfold. But in order to navigate the room properly, they have to literally hold hands with, which sometimes is an absolute stranger, and sometimes is somebody they only know very well, but they put that trust in somebody. And so the process of what we call going from darkness into light, to know more about who we are, or what we're doing, or the world around us, or even about our own lives, to know more, for us involves putting trust in somebody, not because we always know that this is the most trustworthy person. We haven't vetted them yet. We have taken a leap of faith in many ways into saying, I want to be able to trust somebody because I need somebody in order to help me navigate this field. And I don't have any suspicion that that was meant as a metaphor for suicide prevention, but if there is no greater explanation for what that process is, I wouldn't be surprised. It is about going to ask for help. It is about admitting that I feel as if I am encased in darkness, or that there is a reality that I can't see. And I hope and put my faith in somebody to help me see that there is the ability to be better, that there is the ability to relieve these symptoms, to make the pain go away, to make the joy come on, whatever it may be. And so I think of what we do in the fraternity as being so vitally, vitally important to the lessons that are used within the larger community of helping our neighbors, the golden rule being our brother's keeper.
Very well said. I mean, there's been a movement within Freemasonry to really hone in on that and really take that to heart and really build up, what the heart of Freemasonry is, and getting that into our lodges, getting that into just all of our bodies, whether it be the York Rite and chapter, council, commandery, and the Scottish Rite, and the Shriners, the Grotto, any of it. Mm-hmm. It's really being there for the guys in the room that are there with you, and also reaching up to those guys that have signed on to your rules that you haven't heard from in a while, and just checking in, sending letters out, making phone calls. If you see someone out at the grocery store, hey, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a while. Just those little things go so long, and that's what it really means to be your brother's keeper. The biggest thing is to make sure that we know we're not alone. We're a community in and of ourselves, like you've said. And so even though we might not know each other the most intimately or have the most experiences with each other, there's a general baseline of trust there that, okay, hey, I've been through the rituals, I've been through the degrees, so is this gentleman. Maybe we can work something out.
I think in popular society, there have been debates about, well, who is a brother? Whether that be in society or within a lodge, or how do I know it's my job to reach out or to be that help to that person.
Yeah.
But truth be told, I think a brother is who you decide, and not a blood allegiance or, you know, some type of membership affiliation. It is a person who we've identified as somebody who I want to help, or
Yeah.
somebody who has identified themselves as somebody who wants to help me. Brother, done.
Yep.
So, looking forward to getting into it and exploring that space a lot more, and, you know, just opening up, okay, now that we've identified who is a brother, or that I am that brother, what do we do in that space? You know, yes, reaching out, but, you know, what if we find this, or how do I explain that? And I'm really looking forward to having that be the focus of what we do. I think another big thing is, like, if the brain desires control and predictability, then I think a really good therapist is not going to tell you that they know what you need to do.
Yeah.
They're going to try to return that control and predictability to you, but they're going to do it in the process of therapy as well as your carryover from having been in therapy. And so I always tell my clients, like, this is, like, I pay the rent for this space, but you paid it for this hour. Like, this is your room. We are not talking about anything you don't want to talk about. We're not going to talk about it in a way that you don't want to address it. And I might tell you it's going to be hard to do this next step without addressing that, but that is not the same as we're going to address this, whether you like it or not. Because if I take away your control in order to give you control, I've lost the plot. I mean, that's just the height of silliness. And so it really is about empowering people to want to make that next step, or take that next step that they want to. And I've even, you know, gone to the point of silliness in lectures sometimes, because you have to explore weird spaces when you're teaching, and said, you know, listen, if a client comes in and says, you know, I want to work on, you know, doing more illicit drugs, I might be able to say something like, you know, I might not be the best therapist for this, but it is not my job to tell them that they can't or that they shouldn't.
No.
And that's a really strange place. But we don't know what is trust building on their part, you know, what they're exploring, what they're challenging, and for what purposes. And so our job really is to make sure to return the control to exactly where it belongs, and that is with them. And I guess to just highlight that one more second, you know, if somebody comes in for substance use treatment and they are sober so long as they see me twice a week, but if they lose access to me, or they stop coming to therapy, they relapse and go right back into it. And so they stay in therapy twice a week for the rest of their lives. I'm not positive I've done a ton of help. Maybe they prefer it and that's their choice, but I'm not convinced that I haven't traded one addiction for another. And I'm not going to feel 100% terrific about that. And so it, again, right, to belabor the point on purpose, you know, it really is about somebody feeling like they are in charge of their life and the decisions they make. Maybe not why they have to make decisions, but the decisions that they're going to make based on what's coming to them.
I mean, how many treatment plans have we made that have not said the term person-centered in them?
Right.
Every clinic you go into will say person-centered planning. That's exactly what it is. The person leads the way. We're just there along for the ride, ultimately.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're more like maybe a tour guide at times or something.
Oh, I like that.
You know,
the term I think I heard early on, and I still use quite a bit, is the right to self-determination. You get to decide what you want to do. And I'm like, let's do that.
Absolutely.
It would be a lot of work to have to believe that I need to have all the answers for somebody that walks in. Like, it's a little bit of a cheat code, right? Like, I really need you to tell me what you want to do so that I know what it is I'm facilitating. One of my professors once said, it is not your job to be the expert in the room. And the class kind of looked around like, oh, what am I paying for, right? Like, what is this? And they said, you will not know more about their life at the end of treatment than they have forgotten about their day in one session. You cannot be the expert. They have to be the expert because they live as themselves, and you're visiting every once in a while, right? It is your job to be professional, to know things and to know what you know and know what you don't know and those types of things, and bring, you know, evidence-based practice to the table. Expert, not a chance. You're not even visiting that world. And that's so critically important in my mind.
I totally agree. I know when I've had clients in the past say, oh, well, you're the expert. You tell me. Like, wait, hold on. I might have some knowledge about some things. I am certainly not an expert at anything. I'm certainly not an expert on your life and how you're, you know, what your situation is right now. So I need you to help me with that one and tell me what exactly is going on to where we can help you out.
I'll make it comfortable, or I'll
Yeah.
do my best to make it comfortable for you to be able to occupy that space, but I cannot physically occupy that space. It's against the law of physics.
I'll try to normalize it as much as I can, but that's all I can do.
Yeah, and it can be a slower or fast process, but the process is going to have to exist.
And also, what I want to say too, just as a professional, I want the people that I see to get the skills they need to where they can do more on their own and everything. Because no professional worth their salt is going to want to create a system where you are dependent on them.
Correct.
Because those relationships will never end, and the burnout, the compassion fatigue.
It's just also unprofessional. It's
It
improper.
is. It's unprofessional, completely unprofessional. So we as professionals, our goal is the end in mind.
Yeah.
Beginning at the end and saying, okay, what do we got to do to get you to where you feel recovered enough to where you go out the door and say, okay, I'm good now, thank you.
When I have this type of speech with some of my clients, either in the beginning or as we're revisiting like what we've been doing, I say, it's a terrible business model that my profession has, but every day I go to work, I try to put myself out of business. And they'll often chuckle at that. And I say, it is kind of a funny line, and it does make me a terrible businessman. But I'm not joking. Like, I am thinking about your discharge the day that you walk in. And it's not that I want you to leave or that I'm not going to be a safe place for you to do maintenance therapy and say, I do want to come in once a month for the rest of my life, because I don't think I'm good because I did this. I think I'm good when I do this. And I kind of have to swallow my pride a little bit and say, okay, well, if that's what you've decided is what's best for you, then I'm happy to be a part in that if I feel like it's ethical to do so. But at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, I would love to have to flip burgers for a living because nobody needs the help. Now, I've risked sort of, my ability to feed my children on the fact that there will always be someone who does need help. And I believe that's true, but I don't mind doing the job poorly in so much as I think that it can end one day. I still want to have that motivation when I go into it because I never want to miss it when I see it.
Right.
And so I love the idea of, returning control, returning predictability to a person's life because, in so many ways, trauma is fear of the unknown. And if we can create a world in which more of the world is known to us and predictable, then hopefully some of these really unwanted and quite frankly lethal symptoms can subside.
I agree. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis right now, 988 is a great first option to call. 988 has the ability to counsel you, to give you resources, and can also basically dispatch to get you where you need to go. 911 is a good second option too if you need immediate assistance from the police.
I agree completely. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is by far the way to go because they have the most resources. But if you are with somebody and trying to support somebody who's also going through it, it's a lot of the things that is mentioned in all of these episodes, which is be present, be aware, and just be human, be yourself, and admit what you can and what you can't do, but let them know that you're there with them through the process. And the end goal is safety until we can get to the next step. Thanks so much. We wish you all the best of health.